All right, so we're diving into the power of moments.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, our listener wants to know how to, well, make life more memorable, right?
Right.
And they've got, looks like really thorough notes and even like a whole summary of Chip and Dan Heath's book.
The Heath brothers, yeah, they've got some great ideas. I mean, they're basically saying we don't have to just kind of, wait around for life to happen.
Yeah, I like that.
We can actually like be the architects of these moments that really matter.
Architects of moments, I love that. But like, where do we even start? Like, is there some kind of instruction manual for this or something?
Or they don't give you a step-by-step guide. But one of the things they talk about that's really powerful is this thing called the peak end rule. Basically, it means that we remember experiences, like any experience, based on like the most intense parts and how they end.
Oh, the ending. Okay.
Yeah, and not necessarily like the whole thing.
That makes sense. It's like, okay, I went to this concert once and the opening band was like amazing.
Oh, nice.
So good. But then the headliner at the band we were all there to see, they were just like a total snooze fest.
Oh, no.
I walked out feeling like meh about the whole night. Like
Yeah.
that ending just kind of ruined it.
Yeah. You remember the peak, which was the opening band, and then the end, which was
Yeah.
not so great?
Exactly.
And so the whole experience is colored by that. And the Heath brothers actually take that idea even further.
Hmm.
They break down these defining moments, these memorable moments into four key elements:
Oh, okay.
elevation, insight, pride, and connection.
Okay, let's break those down. So elevation, that sounds like, I don't know, those wow moments, right? Like, have you ever stayed in a hotel and they like leave you a little personalized welcome note with like a treat or something?
Oh, yeah, that's always nice.
It's like they're going above and beyond to like surprise you.
Exactly. They're breaking the script. That's what the Heath brothers call it. It's unexpected, and it's delightful.
Yeah.
And, they actually did research on this. Like, 94% of people who had a positive surprise at a hotel would recommend it to others.
Oh.
That's powerful, the power of exceeding expectations.
Okay, but isn't there a risk of going, I don't know, overboard with this?
Oh, yeah.
Does every coffee shop need to offer a free juggling show to stand out?
Right, right.
Where's the line? How do we find that balance?
It's about being intentional and authentic.
Yeah.
Like Southwest Airlines, for example. They're known for their flight attendants who, tell jokes and make the flight fun.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
Yeah, it fits their
Yes.
brand,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
It creates a memorable experience, but it feels authentic to who they are. It's not like some forced or gimmicky thing.
So it's not just about like random acts of craziness. It's about aligning those wow moments with, I don't know, the overall experience you're trying to create.
Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly.
Whether it's for yourself or for others, it's got to be aligned.
Right. And it has to be true to like your values or your brand.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit to insight. Now, this one's about those aha moments where you suddenly understand something in a new way.
Oh, I love those light bulb moments. Like once I was learning to code and I was stuck on this problem for days.
Oh, yeah.
And then it just clicked, and that feeling of accomplishment, it was incredible.
Oh, yeah, it's a great feeling.
So satisfying.
But those insights, they don't always come easy. The Heath brothers, they use this example of a teacher returning an essay to a student, totally marked up with suggestions.
Hmm.
And it can feel, harsh at first.
Oh, yeah.
But it's about pushing the student beyond their comfort zone, leading them to a moment of self-discovery.
So sometimes those aha moments are more like ouch moments
At least
first.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's where, mentorship comes in, having someone who can guide you. And the book actually gives this formula for effective mentorship: high standards plus assurance, direction, and support.
Okay, so it's about challenging someone while also giving them the tools and encouragement they need.
Exactly. Exactly. It's not just about pointing out flaws. It's about guiding someone towards improvement. That makes me think about how we give feedback in general. Maybe we could all use a bit more of that, that high standards plus support approach.
Yeah, I think you're right. Okay, so we've talked about elevation and insight. What about pride?
All right. So pride, this one's all about, recognizing achievements.
And celebrating progress.
Yeah. I mean, we all know how good it feels to be appreciated for our hard work. Right?
Oh, absolutely. It's like the book even mentioned that appreciation has been the top motivating factor for employees for like decades.
For decades, it's a basic human need, to feel valued and appreciated. And the Heaths, they take this even further. They talk about this idea of multiplying milestones.
Multiplying milestones. Okay, tell me more.
Instead of focusing only on, the end goal, break it down into smaller, more achievable steps.
So instead of training for a marathon and only celebrating when you cross the finish line, you like celebrate reaching each mile marker along the way.
Exactly. Give yourself those little mini rewards, for your efforts.
It's like, yeah, it's like gamifying your goals. It makes it more fun.
Right. And it keeps you motivated, for the long haul.
Yeah.
It's easy to lose steam when you're only focused on this big distant goal.
It can feel so far away.
Yeah. So, how can we apply this to our own lives, right?
Yeah.
So let's say you're working on this big project at work. How can you break it down into those smaller milestones that would, feel really good to achieve?
That's a great question. It's not just about arbitrarily breaking down tasks. It's about recognizing those moments where you feel a genuine sense of accomplishment, right?
Right.
Like, let's say you're writing a book, maybe finishing a chapter or getting positive feedback on a draft. Those could be mini milestones worth celebrating.
Exactly. It's about being intentional,
Yeah.
about finding those points where you can, pause and acknowledge your progress and feel proud of what you've accomplished.
And I imagine this applies to, personal goals too, right? Like if you're trying to learn a new language, maybe mastering a grammar rule or having your first conversation with a native speaker.
Absolutely. And it doesn't have to be like a big celebration. Maybe it's, a small treat or just a moment of reflection.
Or sharing your success with someone who supports you.
Exactly.
Okay, this is making me realize how often I just like rush from one thing to the next without really stopping to appreciate like my wins, big or small.
It's so easy to do, right? We're always on to the next thing.
No wonder we feel burnt out sometimes.
Yeah. And so by, incorporating these moments of celebration, not only do we boost our motivation, but we also create these positive memories, we can draw on later.
Yeah, it's like we're creating a highlight reel of our lives, one milestone at a time. All right, so we've got elevation, insight, pride. What about that last element, connection? I have a feeling this goes beyond just like networking events or, casual hangouts.
Oh, yeah, it definitely goes deeper than that. The book dives into this idea of responsiveness
Yeah.
being key to, really deepening relationships.
Responsiveness. Okay.
It's not just about being present, physically there. It's about really understanding, validating, and caring about the other person.
So it's about being an active participant in the relationship, not just going through the motions.
Yeah, like instead of just nodding along while someone's talking, you're really trying to see things from their perspective, show empathy.
Yeah, like you're really listening and trying to get where they're coming from.
Exactly. And the Heath brothers highlight this really interesting concept of turn-taking in conversations, like a dance,
Yeah.
Each person really listens and builds on what the other's saying.
Oh, like you're riffing off each other.
Yeah, and it creates this, sense of intimacy and shared understanding.
It's like that feeling you get when you have a really deep conversation with someone and you completely lose track of time.
Oh, yeah.
You're both just so engrossed in the conversation.
Right, you're just totally present, fully engaged in that moment.
Totally. And this connection thing, it's not just about, our personal relationships, right?
Yeah.
It's also about finding meaning in our work, understanding the why behind what we do.
Yeah. The book actually mentions this study where lifeguards were more motivated after reading stories about other lifeguards saving lives.
Oh, wow.
Just that simple reminder of, the impact they were making, it boosted their dedication.
It's like remembering that we're all part of something bigger, even in, seemingly ordinary jobs.
Right.
That sense of purpose can be so motivating.
And it can be a source of, deep connection, both with the people we serve and with, our own sense of self.
Okay, so we've got these 4 elements: elevation, insight, pride, and connection. It's like a recipe for a more fulfilling life, right?
Yeah.
But like, how do we actually like weave these into our everyday experiences?
It's less like a recipe and more like a set of lenses you can use to look at your life. The Heath brothers, they argue that we actually have way more control over creating these moments than we think.
Okay, I like that analogy. So instead of just kind of waiting for something amazing to happen, we can like be proactive, create those defining moments. But how do we do that without it feeling like forced or inauthentic?
One way is to really focus on transitions.
Transitions.
Yeah, I mean, life is full of them,
Right.
big and small, and they're like these prime opportunities to create moments that matter.
Okay, transitions like starting a new job or moving to a new city or even just, I don't know, like changing your daily routine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All of those. The Heats talk about the importance of marking transitions, like making a conscious effort to acknowledge the shift from one phase to another. Think of it like a ritual or a
Yeah.
ceremony.
Okay, so instead of like just quietly packing up your stuff and moving to a new apartment, you might have a goodbye party with friends in your old place. Or like create some kind of symbolic gesture to welcome yourself into the new space.
Exactly. Yeah, it's about creating a moment that, signifies the change and helps you process it emotionally.
Yeah.
And this applies to all sorts of transitions, not just the big life changes
Right.
like starting a new diet, quitting a bad habit, or even just, committing to a new hobby. Those are all transitions.
So even if the transition itself isn't inherently, positive, like let's say quitting smoking, we can still use these ideas to make it more meaningful, maybe even like celebratory.
Absolutely. Maybe you have a, last cigarette ceremony with friends,
Yeah.
or you donate the money you would have spent on cigarettes to a cause you care about. It's about turning what could be a really difficult experience into something empowering.
I like that. It's like a reframing. And it makes me think about setting intentions as well. When you close one chapter and open another, it's a chance to like define what you want that next chapter to look like.
Exactly. Transitions aren't just about endings, they're about new beginnings. And those beginnings, well, they're full of potential for defining moments.
It's almost like we're given a blank page and we get to like be the authors of the story.
And speaking of stories, let's talk about milestones. They're like the plot points that shape the narrative of our lives. Remember that idea of multiplying milestones, breaking down big goals into smaller, more motivating steps.
Oh, yeah. I love that concept. It makes those big, audacious goals feel, I don't know, less daunting and gives us more opportunities to celebrate along the way.
Hmm.
But how do we do this in a way that really, like, resonates?
It all starts with, understanding what's inherently motivating to you. What are those achievements that make you feel proud, even if they're relatively small? What kind of recognition or rewards, really resonate with you?
So it's not just about, like, checking things off a to-do list. It's about identifying those milestones that align with, our values, our aspirations. Like, if someone's really driven by creativity, maybe completing a painting would be a more meaningful milestone than, I don't know, finishing a report at work, even if both tasks are, like, equally challenging.
Exactly. And once you've identified those milestones, then you can start thinking about how you can celebrate them. Right. And it doesn't have to be a huge party, even just a small ritual, a moment of reflection, or, sharing your success with someone who supports you.
It's like giving yourself permission to pause and acknowledge your progress. Savor those small victories that, so often just get overlooked in the hustle of daily life.
And those small victories, they add up.
Hmm?
You know, they create a really powerful sense of momentum, accomplishment. They remind us that we're capable of achieving great things one step at a time.
This makes me think about how we often like compare ourselves to others. We focus on their big accomplishments and we kind of downplay our own.
Yeah, we're so hard on ourselves sometimes.
But maybe if we were more intentional about celebrating our own milestones, we'd feel, I don't know, less pressure to keep up with the Joneses and more content with, our own progress.
That's such a good point. It really speaks to the power of, focusing on what truly matters to us rather than getting caught up in external expectations.
This whole conversation is making me realize, like, how much power we have to shape our own experiences. We're not just, like, passive recipients of life's moments. We can actually be active creators.
Exactly. And that brings us back to the element of connection. Remember, we were talking about responsiveness being, key to deepening relationships, truly understanding, validating, and caring about the other person. How can we translate that into creating those defining moments in our relationships?
That's a great question. It makes me think about how we often just, like, go through the motions in our interactions, especially with the people we're closest to.
Right.
We might be physically present, but are we truly engaged? Are we really, like, seeing and hearing the other person?
That's such an important point.
Right.
And one powerful way that the Heath suggests, to create those defining moments in relationships is through acts of generosity.
Generosity, like doing something kind or thoughtful for someone else. But how does that translate into a defining moment? It seems like it would be more impactful for the recipient than the giver, right?
Well, yeah, of course, acts of generosity benefit the recipient, but they also have a pretty profound impact on the giver, too. Think about a time when you did something kind for someone else. Maybe you, I don't know, helped a stranger carry groceries or surprised a friend with a thoughtful gift. Didn't that create a positive memory for you as well?
You know what? You're right. It's like those moments when you put someone else's needs before your own and it ends up, making you feel incredibly good. Like that warm, fuzzy feeling you get when you volunteer your time or donate to a cause you care about.
Exactly. And those acts of generosity, they don't have to be, grand gestures. Even just a compliment, a listening ear, or a helping hand.
Mhm.
These small acts of kindness can create like ripples of positive energy that extend way beyond just the initial interaction.
It's like that saying, what goes around comes around. When we put positivity out into the world, it tends to like come back to us in unexpected ways.
And it creates those shared moments of connection. The things that really make life so much richer. The Heaths actually talk about the power of synchronizing moments, like
Mhm.
singing together,
Yeah.
dancing together, or even just, sharing a meal together. Those shared experiences, they create a sense of unity and belonging. It strengthens our bonds with others.
It makes me think about like those times when you're at a concert or a sporting event, everyone's singing along to the same song or cheering for the same team. There's this like incredible feeling of connection
Yeah.
and shared energy.
Oh, for sure. And we can create those moments in our everyday lives, too. It doesn't require a big stage or a huge crowd. It could be as simple as cooking dinner together with your family, going for a walk with a friend, playing a game with your kids.
It's about being intentional about creating those opportunities for shared experience, connection. It reminds me of something we talked about earlier, the importance of being present. When we put away our phones, turn off the TV, and really engage with the people around us, that's when we create space for those meaningful moments to unfold.
Oh, so true. It's so easy to get distracted by like the constant stream of information and entertainment. But
Yeah.
those moments of undistracted connection, those are the ones that really nourish our souls.
So, wow, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, huh?
Yeah, we have.
Elevation, insight, pride, connection. It's like they feel like almost like tools,
Hmm.
powerful tools for like shaping our experiences. But I think it would be helpful to maybe step back for a second and think about the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Like what does all this mean for our listeners, the ones who are ready to like get out there and start creating their own defining moments.
Well, I think it all comes back to this idea that we're not just, passive bystanders in our own lives.
Right.
We have the power to choose how we experience the world, and to create those moments that make life worth living.
Yeah, we're not just along for the ride.
Right.
We're in the driver's seat.
We are. We get to decide.
But sometimes, like knowing where to start, it can feel kind of overwhelming. What advice would you give to someone who's feeling a little bit, I don't know, stuck?
The first step is, you know, just to become aware.
Mm-hmm.
Pay attention to the moments in your life, big and small. Which ones really stand out in your memory? Which ones make you feel, you know, alive, connected, proud?
Ooh, okay, I like that.
Start noticing the patterns,
Yeah.
and identify those elements that make those moments so special.
So it's like taking inventory of your own like personal highlight reel.
Yeah, exactly.
And then once you have a better understanding of what makes those moments tick, you can start using those four elements we talked about: elevation, insight, pride, and connection to like amplify those moments or even, create new ones.
Yeah, exactly. You become the architect.
Mm.
Think about those transitions coming up in your life, the milestones you're working towards, those relationships you want to deepen. How can you infuse those with, more meaning, more intentionality? How can you use those opportunities to break the script, to create those peak experiences that will stay with you long after the moment has passed?
It's almost like a game, right?
Right.
A challenge to find those opportunities to like create magic in everyday life. And it doesn't have to be, complicated or expensive. Sometimes the simplest gestures can have the most profound impact.
Yeah, absolutely. Remember that example of the hotel? Leaving
Yeah.
that personalized note and that little treat?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it wasn't a grand gesture, but it made a huge difference in that guest's experience.
Yeah.
And we do that in our own lives, too,
Yeah.
with just a little bit of thought and creativity.
So it's not about like overhauling your entire life or waiting for those, big life-changing events. It's about being present,
Yeah.
in the moment and finding those little opportunities to create something special, both for ourselves and for the people around us.
Exactly. It's about being the author of your own story,
Yeah.
right? Taking those elements, those tools, and making something beautiful.
It's like we're all artists in a way.
We are. We get to paint our own canvases.
This has been such an insightful deep dive. I feel like I have a whole new perspective on how to approach life, how to create those defining moments that make it so rich and rewarding.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah.
And remember, the power to create those moments, it lies within each of us.
Hmm.
It's not about luck or circumstance.
Right.
It's about choice.
So, to our listener out there, we leave you with this question. What small change could you make this week to create a more memorable, meaningful experience? For yourself or someone else, we encourage you to keep exploring the power of moments, you know, and to start building your own collection of defining moments. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.